How's it going, everyone? This episode of the podcast is sponsored by 101 CBD. And I want to give you a couple of facts about raw CBD in case you didn't know. So CBDA, or raw CBD, has a greater bioavailability, which means the body is able to metabolize it in less time and with less effort. Now, CBDA isn't known to bind directly with the CB1 and CB2 receptors, but instead it interacts with the endocannabinoid system as an inhibitor to the COX-2 enzymes, which gives CBDA the potential to reduce inflammatory activity throughout the body. You see, the COX-2 enzymes are associated with inflammation after we get injured or we get an infection. So by blocking that COX-2 enzymes, CBDA can relieve the inflammation and associated pain. Now, every tincture from 101 CBD is full of that raw CBD, that CBDA. And they come in a lot of great flavors, like the butterscotch, the citrus, and the award-winning blueberry. They even have flavors for our pets like salmon and bacon. So go over to 101cbd.org, take a look at their products, and order yourself and your pet some today. And because you're a listener of the In My Grow Show, you can get 25% off of that order when you use coupon code IMGS25 at checkout. And now let's talk a little bit about GreenCo Digital Marketing. If you have a cannabis brand or business, you know that your digital presence is an important part of marketing today. And if you're doing it yourself, it takes a lot of time away from you focusing on your business. That's why you need to talk to the professionals over at GreenCo Digital Marketing, because they can help optimize your website and digital presence for the highest visibility. Go to greenco.website and see how they can help you build your brand. And finally, I want to talk a little bit about Uncle John's Farms Genetics, creators of some amazing strains like the Blueberry Donut and the Lemonade Larry. And you can meet Lorax from Uncle John's Farms Genetics at the Science of Organic Regenerative Cannabis Cultivation Conference. That's happening March 27th, 28th, and 29th in Whitmore Lake, Michigan. Now, aside from having the Blueberry Donut and the Lemonade Larry on hand, he's also going to have some great crosses, like the Afghan Durban, which sounds beautiful. And he's also going to have some 95 East Coast sour diesel seeds for you, just to name a few. So buy your tickets for the Regenerative Cannabis Cultivation Conference. And when you're there, go find Uncle John's Farms Genetics, pick yourself up some quality seeds, and say hello to Lorax for me. All right. Now let's start the show. Greetings, everyone, and hello once again. Welcome back to the In My Grow Show, the podcast dedicated to taking the mystery out of cannabis. I'm your host, Alex. Now, later on, I'm going to play a conversation that I recorded with my buddy Zane from the CannaClub over at UCSB. Now, before that, I want to talk about something. Last week, I was talking about sulfur and nitrogen for cannabinoid production. And I went through a whole bunch of information that I might have gone through really fast. Somebody had reached out to me and asked me if I could print that information up and put it on the website. Sadly, I cannot, because I got it from a copyrighted book. So I can't just, take the book, take that page and put it on the website because it's copywritten and I'll get sued. But I can tell you where I found it. I found it in a book called Hemp Husbandry. And it was put out back in 1999. It was written by a guy named Robert Nelson. And as far as I know, this book isn't in print anymore. They're not making any more. I found one copy available on Amazon. Used copy, it was about $200. Yeah, pretty expensive, but a great book. If you ever find it at a garage sale or an estate sale or, a thrift store, pick it up. Totally worth it. As long as it's less than $200, I guess, or whatever you want to pay. I don't know. Anyways, getting back to my point. I know that chapter 2 from that book is out on the internet somewhere. You can download it as a PDF if you just Google Hemp Husbandry. I know that chapter 2 is out there as a PDF. And that's where I got the information from, actually, was on chapter 2. So, yeah, get on the internet. Go look it up if you're really that interested in it. All right, now let's talk about the strain of the week. And I am going to give it up to, once again, because I know I've talked about this before, at least I feel like I have. But let's talk a little bit more about the Pineapple Jack. And I say that I feel like I have because I know I've tried a lot of different variations of the Jack Herer. It's one of my favorite strains. And the Pineapple Jack is no different. It's a really great strain. Really tasty, real fruity. It has kind of a piney, earthy, wet dirt kind of taste at the end. Not too much, but it is there. Now, the Pineapple Jack isn't a very heavy hitter. The one that I picked up, it came in at about 70% THC, which is pretty good, you know. It was nice and euphoric, nice and energizing, you know. Like I said, not too heavy, so I'm not just totally, you know, high as a kite. You know, because I could actually get stuff done and be focused. You know, this is the perfect weed for you to smoke if you like to smoke at work. It's really easy to smoke and you can keep it together. You know what I mean? You won't look really high. You won't be all like fucking lost about things. So if you see the Pineapple Jack out there in the wild, pick some up. It's going to be a fun time for you at work. Or just after work, whatever. I'm not trying to tell you got to smoke at work. I mean, you do whatever you want. You're an adult. Anyways, I think I drifted there a little. Yeah, Pineapple Jack. Pick it up if you see it, and then let me know what you think. Now I want to talk a little bit about my social media feed. A couple of things that I want to mention is... First, really early, super early, and this is totally local, and that is that once again, Ventura will be having a CBD Health and Wellness Expo. As it is right now, it is going to be on September 12th. Yeah, totally early. That's like 7 months away. But, you know, I'm planning on being there. At least the show is planning on being there. I had a great time last time. I thought it was a great way to meet people. So I'm going to, you know, pull it together and hopefully do it again. And now, the other thing I want to talk about for my social media is something that someone shared with the group over on Instagram. And I got this from @garden_bum. And he was making water-soluble calcium for his vegetable garden. And what he does is that he takes eggshells, washes them, and then bakes them in the oven at about 250, 275 degrees. Doesn't really say for how long. But he's probably just doing that just to kill any bacteria. And then he puts all the crushed eggshells inside a jar and fills it with rice wine vinegar. And the rice wine vinegar winds up just dissolving the shells. And since the eggshells are, you know, I don't know, they're really high in calcium. I don't know what percentage they are that they're actually made of calcium. I don't know if it's like 100%, but they got a bunch of calcium in it. So that rice wine vinegar is going to dissolve those shells and make that calcium water soluble. And he says that he mixes 5 milliliters per gallon of water for foliar spray and 7 to 10 milliliters per gallon for soil drench. And he told me he got this information from Dr. Cho's KNF gardening techniques. KNF just stands for, I believe, Korean Natural Farming. Yeah, I'm almost sure that's what it stands for. So yeah, I thought that was really cool, and I'm going to wind up trying this. If you go over to Garden Bum's Instagram page, the explanation is probably a lot more clear than what I just said, but it was an awesome fucking post. Thank you, Garden Bum. All right, now that that's done, let's do the report from the Cannabis Front Line. Now we're going to start in Austin, Texas. And this article was originally posted at the Texas Tribune. And it's entitled, Austin Police Chief Says Marijuana Arrest Will Continue Despite City Council's Vote. It starts off the day after the Austin City Council approved a resolution to stop arresting or ticketing people for low-level marijuana possession offenses. The police chief made clear he had no plans to do so. Marijuana is still illegal, and we will enforce marijuana law if we come across people smoking in the community, Chief Brian Manley said during a news conference on Friday. Though crackdown on those in possession of small amounts of marijuana has never been a priority for the department, he said the police will continue to either issue tickets under the city cite and release policy or arrest people if officers come across it. The move by the city council came as a direct result from Texas' new hemp law, which complicated marijuana possession across the state. Last summer, when lawmakers legalized hemp, they also changed the definition of marijuana from cannabis to cannabis that contains more than 0.3% THC, the psychoactive ingredient in the plant. Many prosecutors, including those in the Austin-Travis County, now won't accept pot cases based on look and smell alone, requiring lab tests to determine THC levels before accepting the case. Such testing is not yet available in public crime labs, though some counties and cities have spent money to obtain test results from private labs. Alright, so let me see if I can break this down. The city council in Austin has voted to stop arresting and ticketing people for low-level marijuana possession. And that's because since Texas passed their hemp law, it made it really hard for the cops and the authorities to tell the difference between hemp and cannabis, because you can't tell the difference just from sight and smell. So since the authorities can't use that anymore as a way of telling if someone has pot, the city council just decided to stop arresting and ticketing people. But the chief of police came back and said, well, you can decide whatever you want. We're still going to enforce state law, which is going to be interesting to see how they enforce it. Since, like I was saying, you can't tell the difference between hemp and cannabis just from sight and smell. You have to send it out to be tested. I mean, I don't know if every municipality has the money to send every one of these low-level possession cases out to be tested, because you're talking about a few $1,000s just for one test. And yeah, I mean, do these municipalities, do these towns have that money for just, let's say, busting some teenager with an eighth of weed? I don't know. But anyways, yeah, it's quite the clash of powers there, man. The chief of police is like, no, we're still going to ticket people. But the city council and the prosecutors are all like, look, we have no way of proving this right now. So you can bring us all these charges, but we're just going to let people walk. And it's not just in Austin or in Texas that this is happening. It's happening across the country. So it's going to be really interesting to see how some of these problems get ironed out. The other thing I want to talk about is an article that I saw in the Marijuana Moment, and it was put together by Kyle Yeager. And it's titled, Company Gets Trademark for the Word Psilocybin, Frustrating Decriminalization Advocates. It starts off, as psilocybin reform efforts pick up across the U.S., there's an increasing warning among advocates about the potential corporatization that may follow. That's why many found it alarming when a California-based company announced on Thursday that it had successfully trademarked the word psilocybin, the main psychoactive constituent of so-called magic mushrooms. Psilocybin is a brand of chocolates that do not contain the psychedelic itself, but are meant to begin educating, enlightening, and supporting the community in upgrading their inner vibrations in order to get everything they want of their time here on Earth, according to the mission statement. Wait, what? So they're a company that's making chocolate bars, or chocolate, that has no psilocybin in it? They're just going to use the word as an education tool? That sounds shady as hell. Let's read on. The reality is that this particular trademark is more nuanced than it might appear. While it is true that the company was granted the distinction by the U.S. Patent and Trade Office, it's specifically for education material. Soon after founder Scarlett Raven shared news of the trademark on LinkedIn, advocates raised questions and concerns. What does that mean on a practical level for other psilocybin organizations? Why should one brand get exclusive rights to a certain legal extent to the scientific name of a natural substance? Yeah, this is going to get really interesting. I know, or at least I feel, this is going to get challenged in court, and they're going to get it shot down. Because, yeah, I don't know how you can, maybe on the same way that people have patented CBD, right? The word CBD or cannabidiol. It'd have to be challenged because it's a natural compound. But yeah, we'll see how that turns out, And it's not surprising that somebody would patent that, seeing as how the big wave of the country right now is also not just to legalize cannabis, but it's also to legalize hallucinogenics. Oh God, I forget what they call them other than hallucinogenics. But things like psilocybin, ayahuasca, all of that. Because it's the same argument that the cannabis industry had when a company patented the word cannabidiol, CBD. We'll see how much it stands up. It would have to get challenged in court. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is New Hampshire, because it looks like they're about to legalize the possession and cultivation of marijuana for adults. A bill filed earlier this month would simply allow adults 21 and older to possess and gift up to 3/4 of an ounce and grow up to 6 plants. But there's no commercial avenue for cannabis there. There's no commercial setup. There's no legal shops to buy. Everything's going to be peer-to-peer. Everything's going to be person-to-person. So from how I understand it, an adult 21 and over in New Hampshire, if this legislation passes, will be able to grow up to 6 plants, 3 mature, and possess and give away 3/4 of an ounce. Which is awesome because, you know what, if you're really hustle-minded, if you really want to start a business, here's what I suggest you do. Okay? You buy a package of pencils. You sell every pencil for $50. But with every pencil, you get, a 1/4 ounce of weed. That way, you're still within the law. You're not breaking the law. You're selling pencils and giving away weed for free with the purchase of a pencil. Let me know how that goes. Try it out. Let me know how that goes if you're in New Hampshire. because that's something I heard that was actually going on in the early days when Washington, D.C. had a very similar program, or I think they still have the same kind of program. But anyways, like I said, yeah, let me know if that works out. But New Hampshire, man, it's about to get crazy out there. Right on. Good for you guys. Good for New Hampshire. And that, brothers and sisters, is the report from the Cannabis Frontline. Now, I'm going to play in just a moment a conversation that I had with Zane, who is the founder of the UCSB chapter of the CannaClub, which is a student organization that helps push the conversation of cannabis on university campuses. Now, I know some of you are thinking, come on, man, how much conversation do you really need on a university campus, man? You know, there's pot everywhere. It's very true. There is pot everywhere on campus, at least the campuses that I've been to. But there's very few places where students can actually go and learn about the science about cannabis or learn about like the industry of cannabis and how to get into it. So me and Zane had a great conversation about that. We also talked about a lot of different things besides cannabis. So do me a favor, hang tight. I'm going to play a little bit of music and then I'm going to put that on for you. So check it out, everybody. With me on the phone today, I've got Zane Qureshi. One of the things that he does is that he is the student organizer, president, the guy to go to for the CannaClub chapter at UCSB, and that is at the University of California in Santa Barbara. Zane, brother, how you doing today, man? Welcome to the show.
Good, my brother. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, man, for sure. I'm glad we could put this together, man. It was pretty good.
100%, dude. I'm happy to be here. I know we've been playing this for a long time now.
Yeah. We've been talking about it for a while.
It's good to be here.
All right, so do me a favor, man. Break it down for me a little bit, because I know there's like Canna clubs at different colleges, at least here in California. At least I've seen one at UCLA. What is the CannaClub doing?
Okay, so CannaClub was founded by Maha Huck. So Maha is the founder of CannClub of UCLA. She was basically, she was working for a tech startup. She was doing business development, and she realized that she wanted to expand like education about cannabis. This was when it first was starting out. She wanted to expand it to like the students. So she basically started CannaClub at UCLA, which then expanded into our sister chapters, one being UCSB. And so what CannaClub is, I know when I tell people I run CannaClub, they say, oh, the Cannabis Club, they kind of laugh about it. But it's mostly it's focused on education. So what CannaClub seeks to do is we ignite student engagement in the cannabis space. We create a community centered around interdisciplinary research, social innovation, and entrepreneurship. So basically, we foster discussions around the emerging cannabis industry through awareness campaigns, information sessions, networking events, service, and just any kind of tools that we have and resources that we have to support our network of students by equipping them with the tools they need to kind of navigate this cannabis landscape.
All right, so give me an idea, man. What kind of outreach? I mean, are you guys doing on campus? I mean, what does that look like?
So the outreach that I have, so UCSB currently has 25,000 students. So the reach that we have is we've only done one event so far in May, which was a panel on cannabis and mental health. So that was purely educational. We brought out Dr. Bierman, who's renowned in the field of marijuana. We brought out a couple other people, and we threw an event. And honestly, at first I didn't know if a lot of people would come. But once I marketed it, there's actually a lot of people who showed up, a lot of students who came up to me and said, hey, this was very inspiring, this was informing. So our reach is to any students that are interested in learning about cannabis or even want to get involved into the industry after they graduate.
So now, one obvious question is, since cannabis is like, you got to be 21 and over to possess it here in California, do you have to be 21 to be part of the club?
No, not at all. So this is okay. So the thing with CannaClub is we don't promote the sales, consumption, or distribution of cannabis at all. We're not allowed to do that. We won't. We're focusing on education. So let's say that somebody is a cannabis user, and they might see other people do it. They might be a user themselves, even if they're under 21. But do they know what they're smoking? Do they know the education behind it? Do they know what it does to you? These are things that we have to kind of take into account when we're kind of progressing with this plant. And in terms of just the destigmatization too, we're trying to turn people, we're trying to educate people so that we can kind of give the student voice, the community, give the students a voice, for example, too. So you don't have to be 21. It's anyone who simply just wants to learn more, become an advocate for it. Let's say it's helped them or someone that they know in the past. Here, we'll give you a voice. That's kind of what we're here for.
So let me ask you this. So how are you preparing to get into the cannabis industry once you leave college?
So I currently work for Delta Leaf Laboratories, which is a genetics laboratory in Santa Barbara. So I've been working for them for about a year and a half now. And, through working for that company, I learned a lot about cannabis. And, there's certain stages, I think, that first everything starts with education. I was educated about the plant, spending a lot of time with my boss. He taught me a lot. I became an advocate for it in the community. So I would testify against the court anytime, or the board of supervisors every time regulations were going on. They needed a voice. And then eventually, at this point when I'm about to graduate, I do want to stick with Delta Leaf Labs and make a difference in the Santa Barbara cannabis community. So I think sticking with Delta Leaf, and we're gonna see what happens from there.
So, what did you go to school for, man?
So I'm currently a financial mathematics and statistics major. That's what I was doing.
Wow, that financial mathematics.
I do kind of believe in like this world of data, and it really applies everywhere. In terms of cannabis companies are not really that different from other companies, a lot of them have to use data in like this digital age and catch up to everything that's going on, analytic wise, data wise. So I actually went because I was interested in data and how we could use data to help serve people better, or how to market it better. But I would like to specialize in sales and marketing. So that's kind of where I want to take data and kind of merge it together. But I'm also happy that I'm working for a company that that strays away from this data and really humanizes the cannabis process, or just the industry as a whole. So kind of mixing math and kind of this interpersonal relationships in the community and kind of blending that together.
You were telling me last time I saw you that you did a short internship a couple of months in Germany, and you were explaining to me, or at least trying to, because I wasn't exactly grasping the whole thing completely. So you were telling me it was for sustainable entrepreneurship?
So sustainable entrepreneurship is basically the process of creating your own company with this idea of a triple bottom line. A triple bottom line is when you're building your business model, let's say for a company, you're not just focused on profit anymore. So the triple bottom line is, how do you create a company that not only has economic profit, but also creates positive social and environmental value?
All right. Example. Okay, so let's say the show's we're going to put out some hemp socks.
Okay.
How do I start that entrepreneurship that way, the sustainable entrepreneurship? Where do I start?
So you want to sell hemp socks? Yeah.
Nice socks, built, really tough but really soft, they're gonna last you a long time. They're nice and supple. Got a nice toe, got a nice heel on the back. Oh no, they're real nice. I don't really have a sock. I'm just imagining it, but
yeah, I mean that's definitely okay. You have a sock, you have a product, you have a market. Of course, there needs to be a market for it. I think in Santa Barbara would be a beautiful place to open up a hemp sock company. So I think that let's say that you have. So the thing with creating a company, entrepreneurship is different from a corporate or a corporation because they have the infrastructure is already in place. But whereas when you create a company, you have a lot of leverage in terms of the things that you can do within sustainability. So sustainable entrepreneurship, I wanted to open up a hemp sock company. Yeah, so that would be you serving the environment. That's you hopefully making a profit here, and then if you do charity work, if you want to go the extra mile, you can also serve the people. So maybe paying back like giving some money over to the farmers or hosting some sort of event.
I'm going to give socks to the homeless. Do you know how hard it is to have clean socks when you're homeless?
Man, that's what I'm saying. You're serving the people. You're serving the environment. You're serving.
I think I'm going to start making socks.
You're making some money, too.
Holy shit. All right. All right, Zane. Every 5-pack of socks that you buy, one homeless person gets a pair of socks.
That's what I'm saying. You're already on your way. You're already on your way,
damn.
buddy.
I'm going to start selling socks. All right, I got to make a note, man. Selling socks.
And like when we create things, let's say I own a clothing store, not a hemp store. I do fast fashion. I'm importing, exporting like millions of clothes. I'm selling them on a massive scale. When I look at my stakeholders, so do you know what a stakeholder is? It's anyone who might be affected by the services or whatever that you provide as a company.
All right.
So a lot of people, when they create companies, they forget that the environment is the biggest stakeholder. There are your customers. There are, let's say you sell meat, there are cows that are involved that are affected. When you're making clothing, we often forget that the environment is our biggest stakeholder. When the old business models were traditionally focused on profit, that's what they would chase. They would chase a profit, and that was all they cared about. So they ruined the environment in the meantime because they were just trying to get to the highest profit. So they would release millions of tons of emissions into the sky that's eventually contributing to the climate change we have today. And this whole point of sustainable entrepreneurship, I'm going to kind of go off on a tangent here, is living within this donut. Basically, there's a donut model where on the outside lies our environment. So this is, how much carbon dioxide can exist in our world. How much, where's climate change gone? Where is ocean acidification gone? Stuff like that. And on the inside of the circle is the social side. So these are different aspects of basic fundamental human needs. So this is stuff like poverty, hunger, basic gender inequality, all these social things. So what we strive for in sustainable entrepreneurship is creating companies that help us live somewhere in the middle. Now, the bad news is that we've already surpassed many of these boundaries already. Socially wise, we're not doing too good. There's still the poverty is still rampant, hunger is still rampant. We have a lot of things to fix. On the outside, climate change, we've already transgressed so many planetary boundaries in terms of what our planet can take. I think at this rate, the way an average American lives, we're going to need, 7 or 8 Earths to sustain our lifestyles. This kind of new idea of sustainable entrepreneurship, relatively new field, just talks about how can we serve the environment, how can we solve social problems while also making a profit.
Hey, let me ask you something, man. So, as far as social responsibility, what is our responsibility to society? What is our responsibility to the other human being? Are we responsible to give them a fair wage of living?
I think that it is our jobs as human beings to ensure that all fundamental basic human needs are met. When we live a life of abundance.
Oh yeah,
America,
for sure.
I would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that it's sustainable entrepreneurship. It's going back to that topic. It is sparked. Usually, these ideas for these companies come from an experience. From an experience that one has. So let's say I go to Ethiopia and I see how the coffee farmers are being treated very poorly in poor conditions. It's going to kind of spark it inside of me and kind of say, hey, it's my social responsibility to make sure that all human needs and fundamental basic human rights are met. I think that is our responsibility.
So let me ask you this.
What companies and businesses are at the forefront, and they have the ability to change the world.
What are those basic needs? Okay, so what do we got? Clean water, fresh air, enough food. You tell me.
So the UN actually met and created the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, right? So this is an agenda that said that by 2030, we need to have the Sustainable Development Goals in terms of social responsibility. I can talk about the social first. So 1, no poverty. So get rid of poverty. We need income inequality, make sure that everyone has enough money to live. Another thing is zero hunger. So get rid of hunger. People should not be hungry in this world. There's more. I think that food insecurity is an illusion. I feel like there's more than enough going around, and we just need to distribute it the right way. So hunger, good health and well-being. Everyone deserves good health. They deserve healthcare. They deserve to have their needs met. In terms of other social aspects, we have education, for example. That's something that I'm very big in, is education, because without education, you don't find people who kind of find that social responsibility and understand that we need to help other people. So I feel like it all starts with education. People around the world need access to education. Clean water, sanitation. Everyone deserves clean water. I think that should be a basic human right for people to drink clean water. And there's more. I think peace is another big one too, getting rid of peace and justice. So getting rid of war, for example. Those are the goals that we have. They're pretty high goals, but this is kind of the social responsibility that we have. And then when creating a company, you can choose which one that you want to attack.
Hey, so does it say, and I'm just wondering because I just want to take you back a little bit, does it say in that UN report as far as financially, how much money does somebody need?
How much money does somebody need
to live, not just to survive, to thrive? Let's say to thrive, because surviving's hard, thriving's nice, So does the UN? I'm just wondering. I'm really curious. Does it? I mean, I guess it varies by country, right? Whatever. It
does vary by country, but I think the living wage should be greater than the poverty level, I would say. At least greater enough. They have to make enough money to meet the minimum standards, given their cost of living, the local cost of living. Take the local cost of living, the living wage must be more.
Yeah, I mean, we would hope, right? That'd be the goal. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be the goal, man. That's a tricky one, though. Because then, at the same time, there's the other argument, right, all the time about poverty and wages. Because then that means all products and all services also go up. Are we okay with that?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Well, I feel like there's a way around it, maybe without money. I feel like that there are people who have money that have the ability to change the world. It doesn't have to be, we're talking Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk. These guys literally have enough money to change the world. I think that it doesn't have to do with wages in other countries. Other countries are still developing where their currency is trash or they're corrupt. We can see that all over the world. I think the United States is a relatively stable country versus the rest of the countries in the world. So for me, the social responsibility comes from ensuring that all humans have the right to live, also not compromising the needs of our future generations either. So save the environment and end poverty, end hunger, push for education. Do you see what I'm saying? We have to take into account future generations. We also have to take into account our people too.
Absolutely.
Human beings.
Absolutely. So let me bring you back a little bit. Let me kind of bring this all back around. So have you thought about where hemp lies in that whole circle? And I'm pointing out hemp specifically, not so much cannabis, because cannabis is a hard thing to really push for a worldwide market. Because as it is now, the market for cannabis is pretty fractured. There's no real country exporting the drug form of cannabis. You can export into a lot of countries. Into a lot of countries you can export hemp. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering if what your thoughts are. I mean, have you thought about where does something like hemp, that cash crop, lie in this world economy now?
Man, I think it lies everywhere, if I could be real. So where can I start? So let's say in sustainable so a lot of people around the world, for example, don't have houses.
Right.
Hemp can be actually made into hempcrete, right, which is sustainable. It's biodegradable, and it can be used to make sustainable architecture for a lot of people.
But yeah, because we were talking, and I was just wondering, well, that just popped into my head. There's a way, because
it's everywhere. You can use it to, man.
Because I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was telling me about this program, I believe down in Colombia, to where don't quote me on the country, but I believe it was down in Colombia, to where the government was trying to figure out how to not exclude the core part of the community and even the farmers to an extent from this emerging hemp and cannabis market. And one of the ideas that was floated was that to give communities that have less, give them the sole right to, to manufacture cannabis products or CBD products. Not so much to give them a monopoly on cultivation, but to teach them how to extract.
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
You said was in Colombia.
I think, don't quote me, I want to say this dude's been around the...
Colombia is interesting because people in Colombia, there's actually a stigma around weed in Colombia.
Oh, no, there's a stigma...
The land is very, very cheap.
There's a stigma around weed in a lot of South American and Central American countries, dude. And a lot of that has to do because of cartel violence.
Yeah,
but,
I can understand that.
But yeah, they still have this huge fear of just cartels taking over an actual legitimate industry. It seems
we want to make it legitimate. Honestly, yeah. I mean, I'm excited mostly for global legalization. I think that's going to be crazy once we can start importing, because there are some like the original, like, let's say Hindu Kush from the mountains of India, right?
Yeah, I like it already. Go ahead.
Like those are strains of cannabis that you cannot get in America. Over years of replacing soil substrate and claiming that, we have the original varieties, we don't. There's the original Afghan Kush in Afghanistan. It's going to be interesting once global trade is allowed for cannabis. That's what I'm excited for. I feel like that'd be really, really cool.
You're going to get those original land races over here, the actual Hindus, the actual Kushes?
Yeah, I'd be smoking Hindu Kush from the mountain, though. Like, it's going to be like natural, like Hindu Kush.
Can't you do that now, like with seeds? Isn't there somebody out there shaking down seeds out there? There's got to
be. I think over the generations, actually, it's worse. I'm pretty sure you can bring seeds back from those other countries. But, then I would have to open up some sort of boutique, right? Let's say I open up like a cool, like original variety cannabis seed boutique.
You say that like it's a bad thing, bro. Look, you just get you just grow your mustache out a little bit, get some wax, a flannel, and a beard. You can have a boutique.
Like you.
You can have a boutique, bro. That's there's, you can get your jeans, roll them up over your Doc Martens, so you look really cool. And
hey, do you like Doc Martens? I love Doc Martens.
I like Doc Martens, but it all comes as a uniform for your boutique. But yeah, I'm with you, man.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying? We just go to all these countries, dude. We just like pick out a seed or two, and we open up like a nice boutique on the beach, just like really cool, like cannabis strains.
Hey, there you go. All right, I like that already. All right, Zane. Hey, man, let's bring it back around to the CannaClub, bro.
Let's do it.
What events do you guys have coming up? Because I know you got something coming up.
Oh, of course we got something coming up. So next Wednesday, I'm actually really, really excited. We're going to have our first event of the year on cannabis and science. So I'm really excited for this. We're bringing out scientists, anyone who's involved in the science and cannabis industry from all various types of fields. We have a geneticist coming out, which is my boss, Elijah. Alex knows. Shuli, she works for a compliance lab in Los Angeles. Kalon's coming out. He does nanotechnology in cannabis, and he's going to be talking about the new wave of edibles, which is going to be really cool. And then we have Salman from Glasshouse Farms. And I'm really excited this is happening next Wednesday from 6 to 8.
What's that date?
Ivy Theater 2.
Wait. What's that date? Wednesday?
It's January 29th. So next Wednesday.
All right, January 29th, Wednesday. What time?
6 to 8 p.m.
6 to 8 p.m. Where at?
Ivy Theater, Isla Vista Theater 2.
Isla Vista. Is that on campus at UCSB?
That's on campus, yes.
I always get lost when I'm over there. All right, I'll look it up. Next Wednesday, 6 to 8. All right, cool. Yeah, I want to listen to that nanotech, man.
Oh, yeah, I think it's going to be really cool. He's going to be talking about the new wave of edibles. It's going to be awesome. I'm excited.
All right, and then one more thing. Tell everybody how to find you. No, tell everybody how to find CannaClub. Unless you want to tell everybody how to find you. You got to be careful.
I mean, I could tell.
There's a lot of crazy people out there.
Now, you can find us on Instagram, CannaClub.UCSB. That's if you want to stay updated on all of our events. We're planning on having some really, really cool events this quarter. eventually trying to have a job fair. So CannaClub.UCSB on Instagram. You can also find us on Facebook, CannaClub at UCSB.
Hey,
and we're also on Shoreline if you go to UCSB.
And just real quick, if they do have a job fair, everybody, do me a favor. Don't fucking show up like a freak. Okay,
yeah,
so
don't show up like a stunt. Like, dude, people dress up in suits to go to work for this industry, you know?
Dude, where was I at, man? I was somewhere at a convention, and
good.
right next
That's
door, right next door to this convention, they were having a job fair for the cannabis industry, right?
Really?
Yeah.
Where was this?
This is down in L.A. This is at it was in Pasadena.
Was it called the High Hopes Summit?
No, it was the CanMed event.
Interesting.
So
okay.
I think that was there. But right next door, yeah, they were having a job fair for, and they didn't let me in because I didn't have the right documentation because I tried to walk in and be like, what the fuck is this about? But, so they were having this job fair for the cannabis industry. Dude, there was this one guy who showed up dressed like a rainbow.
No way.
Yo, dude, he had like this suit on. It was like
he definitely got hired.
And I was all like, man, really? Can't you guys fucking tighten it up a little? I mean, it's still, I know it's weed. I get that.
No, we're getting there. We're getting there. We're going to make it legit.
I was all, what the I mean, I don't know if the guy got hired, but I was all like, fuck, that dude's he's all like, you know what? I'm embracing it. Fuck this. This is how I'm showing up to work.
Yeah.
I was all like, God damn. But, all right, man. Hey, Zane, thanks for getting on the phone with me, brother.
Hey, thank you so much for calling. I appreciate it.
For sure. Do me a favor. Do not hang up. Everybody else, I'm going to play a little bit of music, and I'll be right back. And that, everyone, was my buddy Zane. Just a reminder one more time, if you are in the 805 area and you want to go to the CannaClub event, that is going to be January 29th from 6 to 8 p.m. on the UCSB campus at the Isla Vista Theater number 2. And as always, brothers and sisters, if you have a question or a comment about this episode, do me a favor, send me an email that is inmygrow@gmail.com, or just reach out to me on the Cannabis app or on Instagram or even Twitter, and that is @InMyGrowShow. Well, check it out, ladies and gentlemen. That is the end of my notes, which means that is the end of my show. I have nothing more to share with you today. Now, as always, if you were entertained, educated, or even given a little escape from your day during this podcast, go over to patreon.com/InMyGrowShow and leave a financial donation. Now, if you don't want to leave a donation over at Patreon, you can go over to inmygrow.com, click on the Support the Show tab, and buy a t-shirt. And yet another way to help support the show financially is, before you go shopping at Amazon, click on the Amazon link at the top of the show notes of this episode so they know that we sent you and the show gets a commission. Now, I use those funds to pay for different hosting fees and to pay for equipment, and it just makes it easier to keep this show going. So please, if you can, help out financially. But if you can't help financially, don't worry about it. Here's how you can help, though. Subscribe to the website. Subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening. And then go over to YouTube, look up In My Grow Show with Alex, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And then after you do all that subscribing, just tell 3 other people about the show. Well, mi familia, my family, as I said, I'm going to get out of here. Now, you know I love you very much. And remember to always grow, learn, and teach. Thank you.